heat doesn't get cold easy. I need a brick right there. All right. Okay. Guys going for it. So, if Kai and I were to take our hands and take off our gloves, right? And hold our hands up like this, and then reach down and put our hands on the snow and hold it there. What's eventually going to happen to our hands?
Frostbite.
Oh, okay. Take it off. What's happening to our hands? What's happening to our hands?
Colder.
They're getting colder. Why are our hands getting colder? Because what? The snow is cold, and what are we doing? What's that? Touching the snow? Conduction is the transfer of heat through touch. I think that's going to be the easiest way to define it. I think that's what we're going to say. There's this can get really complicated, so we're just going to keep things real simple. Mostly for me. You can put your gloves back on if you want. I'm not going to make you do the full thing. There's like a full challenge.
Well, it's fun to watch you struggle.
Conduction, the transfer of heat through touch. So right now, when I take my hand, my bare hand, that's like, 98.6, not really 98.6, but around there. Hopefully not over 100, otherwise we're not here today, right? We're not standing here. And I do this, my hand is desperately trying to warm up that snow, right? So I'm transferring the heat from my hand to that snow, and that's why the snow starts to melt. That's conduction. Now if I take that same hand and blow, and let's say it's windy today, or I blow on it. I can't blow it if my mask is on. Blow on it. What's happening? What happens to my hand? It gets colder. So it gets cold through touch, right? But has anyone ever walked out on a windy day and really felt that wind and gotten cold?
Blown away.
Yeah. So convection is the transfer of heat through liquid or gas. Oh, that's stink. Convection is the transfer of heat through liquid or gas. And remember, this is gain or loss, right? So it's not, I know right now I'm just talking about heat loss, but it's also like the way you gain heat, right? Like if you touch something really warm, you can gain heat, right? So conduction through touch, convection through liquid or gas, right? Now let's just say, so I touch this, and now I've got the snow on my hands. This is a bad idea. Let's just say I held it here for a long time. What's eventually going to happen? It's going to melt, and when the snow melts, it turns to water. And is that water just going to stay on my hand forever?
No.
What's going to happen to that water? It's going to evaporate. Yes. So evaporation is the transfer of heat through, they want to try and finish it for me? Through what?
Air.
We're going to say through a change of states of matter. You guys remember when you talk about states of matter? The change of state of matter. So it's going from that liquid to a gas, and it's pulling heat away from your body as it evaporates.
Right, you step out of the shower and you're like, whoo, that's that evaporation process. You are going to cool right off.
So our last one, is anyone just standing here getting a little cold? Is anyone a little cold just standing here? No? Mr. Oliver is?
Come on, you all are.
What if we made you stand here? What if we made you stand here for the next 3 hours and we didn't move? Probably a little bit cold, right? And why would you be a little bit cold if you just stood here for the next 3 hours? Why? When you move around, your body creates heat, yeah? And when you move around, the air is cold around you. When you move around, your metabolism is going, right? You're burning caloric energy, right? Calories being the amount of energy it takes for 1 gram of water to be converted to some unit I can't remember of air. Anyway, radiation, right? So radiation is where your body gives off heat. You radiate heat out. So in our situation, in our case, we are going to say radiation is the transfer of the heat through metabolic rate. That's for your body, right? Really what it is it's through electromagnetic waves. That's really, let's go with that instead. Forget it, metabolic rate. Let's say the transfer of energy through electromagnetic waves.
And if you want to draw a picture of him
so like,
in your notes.
A
yes.
good example of that is, I'm gonna wait for that. Oh no, wait, no, I can't wait. Electromagnetic. A good example of that, so the reason I said metabolic rate is like as I'm standing here, you're burning calories and you're giving off heat. But a better example really is like does anyone here have a wood stove at home? A couple people. So I only heat my house with a wood stove. It's our only source of heat. And do you guys know how that wood stove works? Do you know why it makes the house warm? It's because, yeah? It radiates heat, right? So the fire gets the wood stove hot, and then the wood stove radiates heat out. Okay? So those are 4 ways that you can gain and lose heat. We're going to talk a bunch about this, about one of them specifically in regards to plate tectonics and geologic history. But the reason I wanted to cover all 4 is as the weather's going to get colder and colder and colder, you should keep those 4 things in mind as we have our 10 mountain time in our days, right? So like when you get ready and you're coming to school on Thursday or any day you have a field trip, how am I going to deal with conduction? How am I dealing with convection? How am I dealing with radiation? How am I dealing with evaporation, right? So do I have the things to keep me dry so I don't lose heat through evaporation? Do I have the things that are going to help block wind so I don't lose heat through convection? Do I have the things that are keep me from like warm boots that are going to help me with conduction? So those are important things to think about as we're out doing stuff. Our next field trip in 2 weeks, or sorry, next week. The last time we went, I distinctly remember, you guys were going to Madison Boulder? There were students that were so cold. I mean, it was like, you know, this is Maine, right? This is northern New England. It was probably like 3 or 4 degrees. It was cold. So we need to make sure that we think about those things in order to be prepared to be out. What we're gonna do is we're gonna walk over to the field and we're gonna take these things and put them in relation. Evaporation, transfer of heat through change of state of matter, right? So like that evaporation. We had radiation, transfer of heat through electromagnetic waves. And then the one that we're really going to talk about now is convection. Because convection drives this whole cycle of what we're going to talk about. Convection is the driver of plate tectonics. So what I want to do here is let's have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So from Katie Ann down over here to Dakota. Let's have you guys kind of stand like by these pipes right here, kind of shoulder to shoulder-ish, right there, give out your wing. Kind of standing right like that. Okay? Perfect. And you can extend past, that's fine. Okay. And let's have all y'all right there. So the 5 of y'all right there, come on over this way. And you're gonna stand, oh, these are too close. You're gonna stand right here, on this line right here, okay? And face those guys. So, imagine if you will. You remember one of our first field trips, we talked about layers of the earth, floor, mantle, crust, right? So we're just gonna say that above this line right here of pipes, that's gonna be the Earth's crust, okay? Right here would be our mantle, and below that line over there would be the core. If you remember, we had those peanut M&Ms. Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
We talked about how the core is solid, and then the mantle is kind of like chocolate, where it's a solid, but it's pliable and it can move. It has movement. You know, it's not quite a liquid, not quite a solid. Somewhere kind of in between. And then the crust was at that shell, right? So, in plate tectonics, convection is the driver, and what we're going to look at is convection currents. So, everybody up here, what you are going to be is, you're going to be these big plates, right? These big tectonic plates. And I'm sure that you've probably seen a picture of this. You guys have studied plate tectonics, right? You guys have already talked about this? Excellent. So, like, remember, there's like a picture like this, and it has all these big plates. These, like, big puzzle pieces that kind of float around, right? These puzzle pieces that are part of the lithosphere, but float around on the asthenosphere. So, the lithosphere is the crust and the very upper mantle, right? The lithosphere is the crust and the upper mantle. Crust and upper mantle up here. The lithosphere is the crust and the upper mantle. And tectonic plates kind of bridge that gap. So I want all of you guys to stand like this, right? Because you got 1 foot, half of you is part of the crust, and half of you is part of the mantle. Because you're in the lithosphere. The lithosphere is the crust and upper mantle. Does this visual make sense to everybody? Can you guys see this? Okay. Now, the asthenosphere is this kind of lower mantle area. The asthenosphere is kind of the lower mantle. And this is all the mantle right here, remember, and that's the core. All right. So, these guys right here, if you guys are tectonic plates, these guys here are mantle. You're in the mantle. And the closer you get to the core, the hotter it's gonna be, right? Really, really, really hot. So if you get really, really hot, based on what we learned 2 weeks ago, what's gonna happen to you? What do you think is gonna happen to you if you get really hot?
Melt? You get turned to magma?
Well, okay, so you become more, yeah, you might become more fluid, right? So you might be more of that, more fluid. But where might you go?
Up.
Up. So, as the mantle gets really warm, it rises. So I want you guys to start walking this way. So it rises this way. And as that mantle warms up and rises this way, what happens is there's like a suction that then pulls cooler mantle down. So this moves up, it gets warmer, warmer, and warmer, warmer up here, and it's reaching the upper mantle now. It's up here in the upper mantle, and it starts to cool off. And it starts to cycle back down. So here, what I want you to do is, you guys come right here, so stand right here. And what I want you two to do is you're gonna walk up and then peel off and walk back down this way. And you three are gonna walk up and then peel back down and walk down that way. Okay? Just go ahead and do that. So warm up. And then you're gonna start cooling down and you peel off, yep, and you walk back down that way. And then what happens? You warm back up, right? You warm back up, so go back up. And then cooler mantle comes back down. All right? You warm back up, keep going. Oh, who just said that? Yeah. Little lava lamp. Warm up, and you come back down. All right? So you stop right there. Now, I should be specific in that it's not like the same mantle. Like, it's basically what I'm showing you is there's a cycle here, and mantle warms up, and then it's forcing the cold mantle to sink back down. That's what's happening there, okay? Now, as this mantle comes up, come up, it's getting really, it's right up here, right? So you're part of the upper mantle and the crust. I'm now part of the upper mantle. If I turn and go that way, what's gonna happen to this tectonic plate?
It's gonna go that way with you.
Yeah, so go ahead and do it. And then turn, and then you turn. So somewhere right around here, you go that way, you go that way. What happens? And stop. What has just happened to our tectonic plates? How about a voice I haven't heard yet today? Katie, I don't think I heard your voice.
They moved away from each other and separated.
They've moved away from each other and separated. Right? They've moved away from each other and separated. Based on what you've studied and learned, can anyone tell me what you think this might be called? What you think might be happening here? What do you think that might be? Yeah.
Convection current?
It is convection currents. So convection currents are driving this. Something you studied with Miss Louie maybe. Divergent plate boundaries, right? So what's happening here is that convection current comes up, warms up, warms up, warms up, warms up, and as it cools, it's sending that cooler mantle back down, and these plates that ride on that mantle are gonna move with it. Now, sometimes those plates might be divergent and move apart, and sometimes those plates might be convergent and move together. All right, so convection currents, in case you didn't get this, convection currents equals fluid, heated fluid that rises and cools within the mantle. Convection currents, heated fluids that rise and cool within the mantle. So I need you four over here, the ones that weren't part of it yet. Everyone go back to your original spots. All right, so, and I need you four to come line up right over here.
Oh.
All right, so now you four come line up right here, because you're no, just like these guys, like you're part of it. Now, okay, so here's what I want to show you is we're gonna do this really, really slowly. All right, really slowly. So you're gonna start to rise.
Serena, you can join the chorus.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I didn't see over there. Not you! No, I'm sorry, yeah, jump in there. Okay, so now start to turn, right? And now crust, start to go with it a little bit, like you would. Now stop, 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 everybody stop. So there's that divergent, right? Now, let's just say that over here, there's another, there's more mantle that's rising over here, another convection current, right? And maybe I'm rising this way, turning and cooling like this. So that's pulling you apart. What's happening to you guys?
We're going up.
you're going this way, and what are you gonna do? Yeah, you're gonna knock down Katie Ann. What's gonna happen, right? You guys are gonna battle right here. So you can see what I want to show you is if we have diverging right here, what is most likely happening on the other end? Converging, right? Diverging, and then on the other end, most likely, not always, but in like the perfect scenario, you have converging over here. So if divergent plates are ones that pull apart, convergent plates are ones that come together, right? All right. How am I doing on time? I don't have a watch on. 30 minutes. Yes. Okay. Does anyone not understand that? Does that make sense? All right, cool. Here's where we're gonna get more in depth now, okay? So, what I need now is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So from Will over to Serena, you guys stand shoulder to shoulder facing this way. You guys, are you okay? You look old. Okay. All right. If you need to at any point, if you need to walk away and do some jumping jacks, no, that's fine. Remember, you need to do some jumping jacks. Warm your hands up, do something to warm up. That's totally fine. You guys, shoulder to shoulder, face this way. Think about how I want to do this. All right, I'm just trying to think about 6 feet. This is an activity where you get up in someone's grill, and we can't get up in people's grills. So, I think this is what I'm gonna do. All right. Convection currents drive the system, right? So what we want to look at is what happens at that point of convergent and divergent plates. So there are 3 plate interactions that can happen, right? Divergent, convergent, and transform. Divergent, convergent, and transform. So what I want to do now is together is we're going to take a look at that. So we should probably move in case anyone slips. I don't want to slip and hit on the pavement because that would hurt. So let's just take this over to the snow over there. Hold out your pool noodle. It's actually not a pool noodle, but it kind of looks like one. Foam insulation. And walk together, guys. And I want the other plate boundary to grab the other end of that foam noodle. All right. Now, here's what I want you to do. Wait, you don't have a partner? Yeah, find a partner. And you can't cross. It's like Ghostbusters.
And then Will down there. Go down there.
Somebody else not have a partner?
All right. And let's maybe scoot down a little bit that way. So you're kind of 6 feet that way. Maybe not 6 feet.
Elbows.
3 feet that way. There you go. Okay. Has everyone got a side? Okay. So you're a convergent plate. Sorry. You're a plate boundary, right? This is a plate boundary. You're a tectonic plate. You're a tectonic plate. Does that make sense? Convection currents, which drive the whole system, is that hot fluid that bubbles up, right? Doesn't bubble. That comes up, cools, and falls and replaces in a cycle. So what I want you to do is just very gently start to pull a little bit on that foam. Now pull a little bit more. And start leaning back as you pull. And a little bit more. And lean back a little bit more. And a little bit more. And now really, really hard, really, really hard, really, really hard. And oh, baby ocean, baby ocean, baby ocean, baby ocean, baby ocean, baby ocean. Baby ocean, baby ocean, baby ocean, baby ocean, baby ocean, baby ocean, baby ocean. Someone, critical thinking skills time. What just happened?
Baby ocean.
What just happened? It created a baby ocean. A rift valley occurred. So, that lithosphere starts to stretch, right? Just like you started to stretch. At some point, a fissure, right, an opening, a crack appears. And those divergent plates start to move in opposite directions. And when they do, what is born?
Baby ocean.
A baby ocean. A baby ocean is born. Right? So,
The birth of a baby ocean. Oh.
the stork came and brought a baby ocean for you today. So, divergent plates, as they move apart, a baby ocean is born, right? And new land is created, right? Like new lithosphere is created in this process. Because it's pulling apart, a baby ocean is born, and if you have a big hole in the earth, what is coming up to fill that hole? Let's see, I want to see someone I haven't heard. Who hasn't talked yet today? We talked about this 2 weeks ago. What's going to be coming up to cool and crystallize and fill that hole? Boys I haven't heard. Boys I haven't heard. Yes. Magma, yes. So magma comes up. It hits that cool, cold ocean water, cools and crystallizes, and new land is created. Does that make sense? So right now, in the Atlantic Ocean, North American plate and the European plate are slowly moving apart 1 centimeter every year. So every year, we get just a little bit farther away from the European plate by 1 centimeter. And as we're moving away, that hole gets a little bit bigger, which means more magma is coming up and cooling and forming, somebody said it, a rift valley, or so a rift valley like what's in Iceland, or a mid-ocean ridge. A mid-ocean ridge. So I got a picture here that I can show you. So continental rift equals lithosphere stretches, new ocean form. Lithosphere stretches, new ocean form. These are very, I wrote like really complicated books with definitions, and so I'm trying to like, rifting is the process of the continental lithosphere stretches, and it's really simple. Yeah. Mid-ocean ridge is where diverging plates fill with molten rock. Seawater cools it to form new land. Diverging plates, so divergent plates fill with molten rock, right, with magma. Seawater cools it to form new land. All right. Your notebooks away for a minute or on the ground if they can be protected. Maybe if it's not protected, on top of someone's that's protected or something like that. Because you're gonna want free range of motion for this.
Yes,
convergent comes together. Now plates can either be continental plates or oceanic plates. If they are continental plates, it means that there's land on top of it. If they're oceanic plates, it means there is what on top? Water, the ocean, right? The ocean on top of it. So this boundary acts differently depending whether it's a continental and continental, continental and oceanic, or oceanic and oceanic. We'll start with continental and continental. So go ahead and hold out your... So if you are a continental plate, you have land above you. You're a continental plate, you have land above you. What happens is when you meet, right, those convection currents are moving, and you meet, and you slowly just start. So here's what I want you to do. Hold the end of it, the very end, and just slowly start walking towards the person. Oh, look at that. So, what is happening in those convergent plates? What's happening, Winter? It forms huge, big mountains. So, walk back, walk back. Here's what I want you to do. As you walk together, I want you to say, giant mountain. So walk together and yell, giant mountain.
Giant mountain.
Giant mountain. Walk back. And now I want you to do it, but say it with a French accent this time. Oh, giant mountain. All right, do it.
Giant mountain.
This is solely for my entertainment. All right, now come on back. Do it again. Now I want you to try an English accent, but like Cockney, like street English. All right? So are you ready? Let's hear it. Go.
I don't know what that is.
All right, back. Last time, this time with a nice German accent. Ja, das ist gut. All right. Ja, das ist gut. So, go ahead and giant mountain, German accent.
Giant mountain.
That was my favorite. Some of you sounded like Augustus Gloop from Willy Wonka. Augustus, save some for later. Okay, so you can drop it. Take a step back. When a convergent plate, it's a convergent plate. It's like two big 18-wheelers coming at each other. They crash, the land buckles, and it forces land up, and it creates giant mountains, huge, huge mountains. We'll talk about this probably next week. 380 million years ago, when the Appalachian Mountains, right, whites were formed, they're formed through continental, and made huge 15,000 foot mountains. The largest mountains in the world right now, the Himalayas, they're formed from continental plate, two continental plates crushing into each other. Okay? So, what happens if it is a continental plate and an oceanic plate? So, land and water. You probably already know this. Do you remember? What happens? Subduction. So here's what I need you to do. Here's what I need you to do. Oceanic plate, continental plate. I need you guys to kind of spread out a little bit down there, down that way. When I say go, or when I say converge, the oceanic plate is going to come at the continental plate, and the continental plate is going to have to go over the oceanic plate. So you're going to go over, leapfrog, jump, burrow down through the snow, however you want to do it. You're going to go under the continental plate. When you go under the continental plate, you're going to come through on the other side, and you're going to jump up, and you're going to yell, never again. Volcano! All right? You're going under, you're jumping up, and you're yelling volcano. All right, spread out a little bit. You're leapfrogging over them.
Oh, that's... Sorry, Cap. I'm very sorry.
Ready? And you don't have to go at full speed. I just saw several people like, oh yeah. Calm down. All right, ready, and converge.
Oh, volcano.
This side over here yells.
Volcano.
This other side is quiet. That side yells.
Volcano.
All right. We're gonna do it again. Now you are continental. Now you are oceanic. You're going underneath. You're going over. You're jumping up and yelling volcano. Ready? Converge.
Volcano. Volcano.
Those are better volcanoes.
Those are better volcanoes.
Yes.
All right. So, when an oceanic plate meets a continental plate, the oceanic plate is heavier. It's more dense, even though an oceanic plate is only about 5 miles deep, and a continental plate is like 45 miles. The oceanic plate subducts and goes under. So, if
Is that because of what it's made up of?
yes, it has to do with just how dense it is, the density of it, and the weight of it. It's a heavier plate. So, when the plates are rifting apart, it creates new land. During subduction, what's happening? Volcanoes are born. Volcanoes are born, but what's happening to that land? Is there more land getting created, or is land getting destroyed? It's getting destroyed. So think of it a little bit like if you go to the grocery store and you put your items on the at the checkout, on the conveyor belt, and the conveyor belt, it moves like this, and then like the conveyor belt disappears forever on one end, and then reappears on the other end. Same kind of idea, right? So divergent plant, because it's a cycle, right? Divergent, that lithosphere is getting created. Convergent, it's getting destroyed. And if subduction takes place, then what's happening? Think about it. That land is going down, subducting going down. It's getting down to closer to the mantle. It heats up, and then it comes up, and on the other side, you have volcanoes, right? That's one way in which volcanoes are formed, is through subduction. Okay. Last way, right? Convergent, divergent, and transform. So, come a little bit closer. Everybody have gloves on?
Yeah.
Okay. Put gloves on if you don't have gloves on. Everyone throw some gloves on. Do you have gloves? Okay, just throw gloves on if you don't have gloves on. Go grab them real quick. Because this won't work with the noodle, so I want you to wear gloves. One last thing, I forgot to say it. For those of you that subducted, when you subducted, did anyone like get stuck or like kind of get like have to like wiggle through? That happen to anybody? So let's just say that you were going through that other person's legs and they tried to jump over you and they didn't quite make it. Maybe they like hit you in the head with their leg or something, right? Or maybe they like stole your hat. You're like going through and they're like, that's mine now. That is the same as accreted terrain. So accreted terrain occurs in a subduction when one plate goes under the other and that top plate scrapes some material off and takes it with it. So for example, if like Noah was coming this way and he was subducted under me and I hopped over him and I was like, boom, got your hat. That's accreted terrain. Because what's happened is I've scraped lithosphere, I've scraped terrain off of Noah and I've sutured it to myself. Hopefully not literally sutured it to myself, but I've taken it and now it's attached to me. And that's accreted terrain. And you see that in lots of really interesting and weird places. There are some mountains you can hike to the top of a mountain of, and you have the same rock. Or you might find fossils of marine organisms that were at the bottom of the ocean. And that's due to accreted terrain, and that's suturing. Okay. Transform. Transform. So here's what I want you to do. This line, face me, and hold out your right hand. So face me and hold out your right hand. Like this. This line, in a minute, you're gonna face that way. Don't do it yet. And you're hold out your right hand. And I want you to line up with somebody like this. And when I say transform, you're gonna start pressing against their hand as hard as you can. And when I yell slip strike, you're gonna give the next person a high five. Does that make sense?
Do you stop after you give the next person a high five?
Yeah, you stop at that person. And when I yell slip strike, I then give the next person a high five. Oh man.
That's hard.
Oh, winner. Ouch. All right. She's like, whatever. That's how it is, buddy. All right, so are you guys ready? Okay, so you got to move a little closer to this, but you know, I'm gonna do that.
You know, it's not really good.
Just stretch it out. Okay, so ready? Transform, push, 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 slip strike. Transform, push, 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 slip strike. Push, 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 slip strike. 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 Oh, good game. Good game. Good game, everybody. Good game. You played well. Good game. All right. Circle up. Circle up.
See that?
I'll explain it, and then we'll grab our notebooks. So let me explain that real quick, and then we'll get our notebooks out. A voice I have not heard today. Someone who has not answered a question. Who can tell me what you think was happening as those two plates slipped next to each other? Slip, jolt, slip, jolt, slip, jolt. Someone who has not answered yet today. Earthquake.
Ooh.
Good job. So, transform faults are where the two plates, land is neither created nor destroyed, right? So, convergent, subduction, and I'm saying destroyed. It's not really, you know, but destroyed, divergent, created. But with an earthquake, a slip strike, they rub between each other like this, right? Now, they can also do other things. There can be normal faults and reverse faults where instead of going side by side, they go up and down. But we'll just focus on the ones that go slip strike this way. And that's what happens with an earthquake, right? If you think about it, if you have these two big blocks that are pushing on each other, every now and then there's a little slip, and when it slips, it shakes the earth, right? It's an earthquake. Has anyone ever been in an earthquake before? Anyone ever felt an earthquake? Yeah?
Yeah, my dad, he thought it was a car driving by, but then he was like, it's going way too loud, and my mom thought it was a chimney fire, and then our neighbor called and was like, there's an earthquake.
They're not uncommon to have earthquakes in New England, but they're very, very subtle. They do happen occasionally. There's one in New Hampshire maybe like 3 or 4 years ago that was like kind of a bigger one. But if you have other places, like when I lived in California, my sister and I lived in California for a couple years, and they would have like big ones, you know, like the whole building shakes, you run in between a doorway, and you hope that nothing falls on your head. Great. We've got about 5 minutes left. What I'd like you to do is grab your notebooks, and let's get some of these definitions down. My guess is that we stopped somewhere around, you guys got Continental Rift?
Yeah.
All right. Did we get Mid-Ocean Ridge?
Yeah.
Okay. To give you just an idea, so here is that's Continental Rift. That's in Iceland. Iceland. So that's what that looks like. So the big canyon kind of thing. And that's a mid-ocean ridge. That's new land getting created in the Atlantic Ocean. So in the Atlantic Ocean, there's this big ridge that runs right between the plate boundaries. Alright, so that's that continental rift. That's an iceland. So it's a feature that you'd have to see from really far away, right? To understand what you're looking at. Otherwise it just looks like a, you could think, oh, there's rivers in there. And then that's mid-ocean ridge forming in the Atlantic Ocean. I don't know if that's actually the one in the Atlantic Ocean, but that is a mid-ocean ridge. And I spelled the word ocean wrong in that. That's an Okean ridge. SMRT. All right. So, convergent, we talked about that. Plate boundaries come together. Divergent, they pull apart. Subduction, we're one plate, so subduction equals one plate sinks below the other. Volcanoes form on other side. One plate sinks below the other. Volcanoes form on the other side. Examples of that would be all the mountains on the west coast. So you think of like the Cascades and north, Mount St. Helens, the other Mount Adams, Mount Rainier. Those are all volcanoes that form that way. Accreted terrain. So that's where, this is too complicated. Hold on, give me a second here. Land is broken off from one plate and attached to another.
It's like Velcro. Like, you ever have like throw some laundry in and like snow pants have a Velcro on it? Like it now attaches to you.
A fragment of crustal material formed on or broken off from a tectonic plate and accreted or sutured the crust line on another plate. Okay.
Leftover sock.
And then we've got transform faults. So that's stress, strain, as two plates push against each other. Slip strike equals side by side. Slip strike is the side by side one that we talked about. And you don't need to write this down, but we talked about, remember there's normal and reverse ones where they move up and down. In normal, the top goes up, and in reverse, the top goes down. But don't worry about that right now. So, next week, we're gonna head out to Madison Boulder. We're gonna take everything we learned today, we're gonna then now put it in the context of geologic time and try and figure out how these orogenies took place. Orogenies are mountain building events, we'll talk about that later. And we'll look at how subduction, convergent, divergent plates were all involved in the geologic history of the whites. We're then gonna talk about glaciers, and I think next week we shall answer the question as to why there are sand dunes in Freiburg, Maine. I think it's next week. I think next week we can finally answer that question, that we've amassed enough information. Yes?
What was transform faults?
Transform faults. Yeah. Yeah, two plates pushing against each other. Oh, transform. Sorry, one last thing. Land is neither created nor destroyed. Make sure you have that in there too. So in transform, right, land is not created or destroyed. I wish. Where everything is a joy or a disaster. One extreme or the other. There's no level ground. It's either greatest moment of my life or worst moment of my life. Yeah, exactly. Changes with the wind. I feel like I'm running over with this group, but that's okay. Anyone have any questions about what we covered today? Any questions? On a scale of like, I totally got it, everything you said, I don't understand a single word you said, where are we? Anywhere on that scale? Okay. Finally, on a scale of, I already knew everything you said, versus everything you said was new to me, where were you on that? Oh, that's perfect. That is, to be honest, I wanted to be kind of like right in the middle there. That's good.